Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F125 career mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we take on, well, my home Grand Prix. It's the Canadian Grand Prix weekend. Excited for this one and hopeful for a strong showing here. As you can see, some of the upgrades on the way and where we stack up, bringing some upgrades into this weekend here for the Canadian Grand Prix, and we find ourselves P6 in the R&D table as well. Kick Sauber bringing some upgrades this weekend, closing the gap between themselves and VCarb as well as the other midfield teams. High expectations, high responsibility coming into this Grand Prix, representing my country, of course, here of Canada. We're not the only Canadian in the field, as of course we do have Lance Stroll on the Aston Martin roster there, as I'll be curious to see which Canadian comes out on top of one another here this weekend. Hopefully it will be us now as we get ready to head on the racetrack here. And I wasn't quite sure what kind of pace we were going to have this weekend. Like I said, it's been very hit or miss. Some episodes, you know, the Sport car is a car that can fight for points, and then you go one race later and you're back to, you know, running 16th, and then you go another race after that and you're back fighting for points for 11th or 12th or so. So you don't really know which way it's going to go. Is that a bit of a handful here in practice, just trying to keep this car under control, but overall was feeling pretty confident in the pace of this car. So starting to think, you know what, we might be on the better end of performance this weekend here with this Sport team. Of course, we've got a big home race coming up for Sport here in a few episodes when we head to Silverstone. That's going to be an exciting weekend because that's as well going to be the doubleheader for Oscar Piastri, who will be taking part in the NASCAR Chicago Street Course race. So that is going to be something to look forward to as we finish up practice here, and overall was pretty happy with the pace that we had in the car. Like I said, it actually started raining towards the tail end of FP1, but as well, looking at the time, my teammate Aiden Jackson said only P21, but as we come through into qualifying, of course, this is where we're going to find out what the real pace is, and it's raining in qualifying. It's a light rain, it's just wet enough to mandate putting on the intermediate compound tire, but interestingly, it's not wet enough to disable DRS. So that's going to be interesting to see how this plays a role here. As you see, our team principal, Devin Butler, giving us a few words before we head out into qualifying. Now as we head on the racetrack now, and yeah, usually when it's a wetter track, I like to run multiple laps at a time just because I find more pace after running a lap or two. But I wasn't quite sure what to expect here because the track, it was weird. It was only like damp. It was just, like I said, just wet enough to be on the intermediate. So it was a bit of an interesting scenario, but I had a bit of a rough first lap, so I knew it wasn't really going to represent where we could end up here on the grid. So we open up that DRS, head down this front straightaway, and as we head to the line, look at Lewis Hamilton, only 18th, but we're P last. We're P22. And I would immediately make a second lap, and we would find 9 full tenths of a second as we head down the front straightaway one lap later. Boom! P16, still not enough to get into Q2. My teammate of Aiden Jackson comfortably into Q2 as we were heading towards the end of the session now, and my final lap on a second set of intermediate tires, and Bortoletto goes quicker, Tsunoda goes quickest. Now everybody's finding some lap time, it looks like, but Lewis Hamilton, he was engulfed in traffic and he would not improve. Hamilton P21 right now, and as he would cross the line, he goes nowhere. We're down to 20th. Hamilton's going to start either 21st or 22nd, depending on what Lance Stroll puts up on the board. We found 6/10 of a second, and sure enough, Stroll beats Lewis Hamilton, who will start dead last in Canada as we head down the front straightaway with about 7/10 of a second improvement. It's going to be enough to put us into Q2. Look at this, P13, Aiden Jackson, P7. That tells you right there we've got some pace this weekend. Hadjar Alonso, big name out right there. Albon Sainz as well as Doohan, and Lewis Hamilton got himself caught up in traffic and eliminated in Q1. It's always, like I say, every episode, I swear, we've got a Ferrari always starting at the back after a rough qualifying or a grid penalty. One of those two things seems to happen. every episode for Ferrari, so it's been a bit of a disaster. Q2, I didn't set my lap till the very end of the session. My teammate Aiden Jackson again is comfortably into Q3, so definitely telling us that this Connor Sport's got some serious pace this weekend, and I wasn't quite sure what pace I had here now, and I say comfortably into Q3, I should say, actually Jackson's P10 as we come through this final chicane down the front straightaway, and I have a chance to knock him out and put myself into Q3. Is it enough? I think so. It is. It's P3, a surprising lap, a shock to put ourselves P3 into Q3. Jackson, Antonelli, Bortoletto, Hulkenberg, Stroll, and Behrman out as we would come to what I will call an honorary lap in Q3, because I knew at this point in Q3 I actually had to run on worn tires because I had no fresh sets of inters left, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to put up a competitive lap. And actually halfway through the lap, DRS ends up getting disabled as well, so as I would come to the back straightaway, I would no longer have the privilege of using DRS, so that was also going to cost us some speed. So I knew I was going to qualify 10th at this point. I was just kind of bringing it home, but as well still trying to put up the best lap I could. So in front of the home crowd, they've stuck it out here in the wet conditions, and down the front straightaway they're going to see their Canadian boy come through to start P10 in his best qualifying effort to date here for the Canadian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen goes pole on quest for 9 consecutive wins. Piastri, Norris, Russell, Tsunoda to follow. Ocon P6 in Haas 200th Grand Prix. That's a big deal as well, as we'll get ready to go racing Sunday afternoon.
Montreal is not only the second largest French-speaking city in the world, but it's home since 1978 to the Canadian Grand Prix. The name Villeneuve looms large over this one, but who can write their own legends today? It's one of the fastest races of the season here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, with around 60% of this 2.7-mile circuit taken at full throttle. There are 14 corners to navigate, the very last of which has its very own infamous history and could be the cause of a safety car today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Russell, Yuki Tsunoda and Ocon, Lawson, Leclerc, Gasly and Golden Boy, Jackson, Antonelli, Gabriel Bortoletto and Hulkenberg, Stroll, Behrman, Isaac Hadjar and Fernando Alonso, Albon, Sainz, Doohan and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
Luckily, it's going to be a dry Grand Prix here today, and it's looking like a one-stop strategy in the works. We're going to be starting on the hards, switching over to the mediums, and finally, I remember to actually take some feel out of the car as we get ready to go racing.
Right then, the formation lap is underway here in Montreal, a circuit where the cars take a physical battering and the pit and paddock facilities are cramped. But the atmosphere, as always, is great, and the race ahead has the potential to be a good one.
So, you see some mixed strategy. We've got a couple drivers on softs, Jack Doohan as well as Hulkenberg, several drivers on mediums, and then the rest of the field starting on hard strategy all over the place. Watch for Lewis Hamilton to drive to the front of the grid here today.
As the cars make their way back to the starting grid to form up and get ready for lights out, let's hope the race ahead today is a thrilling one that will go down as a memorable Grand Prix in the history books.
Hey guys, just want to say thank you for the hard work. We've clearly got some speed, both myself and Aiden, so let's work together if we can to go forward or at least maintain.
Home race today, mate. Take care of it, but show them what we got.
We've pulled up to the back of the grid, and so has Lewis Hamilton and the rest of the grid. We're ready to go racing the Canadian Grand Prix. My first Canadian Grand Prix about to get underway. 5 red lights. Can McLaren finally take down Max Verstappen? We're going to find out. It's lights out. We're racing. The 2025 Canadian Grand Prix is underway. Gasly can't decide where he's going. We're boxed in. We can't go anywhere. Verstappen's clear into turn 1 over Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris, Tsunoda side by side there with the Mercedes of George Russell. You see that 200th special livery on the side of the Haas there for Esteban Esteban Ocon, the Frenchman. That's right, we have modded in their 200th livery special that they ran in real life at the Canadian Grand Prix just recently now, as well, of course, see Ollie Behrman repping that same livery now. We'll have that link down below in the description if you're on PC and want to mod that into your game, as Max Verstappen in control right off the bat. An unbelievably dominant season. When you think Max Verstappen can't get any more dominant, he goes out and he does this. He is looking to go for 9 consecutive wins. It's just absolutely unbelievable at this point here now, as we will lead into the, of course, hairpin, and we'll follow Liam Lawson in that V-car behind us. Aiden Jackson's scrapping it out right there with Pierre Gasly as he tries to move himself into the top 10. We were able to get past Gasly in the first corner to get up to P9, and sure enough, Jackson would get to P10 as we come up on this scrap right here. How about Charles Leclerc trying to get past Esteban Ocon, who's clearly not going to make it easy. Esteban Ocon doesn't make it easy for anybody to pass him, and look at this. They start really scrapping, and they're backing each other up from the rest of the grid. The top 5's running away, and as they continue to fight, it's backing them up, of course, to us. So we are staying well within range of these guys in DRS. I mean, pretty well right on the back of them as we come to lap 3 at this point. And I am now under a bit of a pressure here from my teammate of Aiden Jackson, actually, who's going to lunge one up my inside. And home race, I'm really not feeling rolling over for Aiden Jackson today. So we're going to keep this pinned around the outside, and that's able to give me the momentum to get myself clear and continue to maintain position here of P9 as we were just working extra hard just to make sure I stay in the DRS of Liam Lawson, because I know if I lose DRS, we're going to be in a bit of trouble here. So just working really hard to make sure I stay within a second of these cars in front. And Charles Leclerc, he's really struggling. Lap 5, and he has not been able to get past Esteban Ocon. Look at the slide right there from Lawson. I mean, that is a wheelman right there. Lawson keeps himself under control, maintains track position now as we continue on. And now Liam Lawson actually going for an overtake on Leclerc. Once again, doesn't work, and that lets Ocon get away, as Leclerc had to, of course, go extremely defensive there into the chicane, and that backed me up as well. And then again, leaving me vulnerable to this guy, Aiden Jackson, as I overdrive turn 1. Jackson looks to the left, we stay ahead. Fortunately, we keep the car planted enough on the apex he cannot make a move, so we maintain P9. And as we went through the next few laps, to lap 7, things start to kind of break up and spread out a little bit. Lawson's on mediums, and it looks like he's starting to struggle a little bit here now. He's starting to fade backwards as Leclerc is starting to drive away from the V-carb, and he's starting to once again run down Esteban Ocon in the Haas. So can Leclerc finally go get Ocon? And I think I might have a chance here to pass Liam Lawson, as now I have got a comfortable gap as well to my teammate of Aiden Jackson. He's no longer just putting so much pressure on me, so I can actually focus in on potentially overtaking Liam Lawson. And here we go. We've got the DRS, we've got the overtake on if we need it. Side by side, a bit of contact there into turn 1, but nonetheless around the outside now with the preferred lane into the second corner, and we'll take the position up to P8 in the Canadian Grand Prix. How about it now, as Leclerc has run down Esteban Ocon? He'll look for an overtake here in the next few laps, as we expect to see some of these guys maybe on the medium start to pit relatively soon, including Liam Lawson, who's now going to be under pressure from my teammate of Aiden Jackson. Can Jackson find a way to get in front as we continue to now march our way forward? Sure enough, Leclerc eventually does get past Ocon, who seems to be now fading later on this tire life cycle of the hards, and I am now reeling Ocon in, and Lawson was still struggling on his medium, so he had backed up 2 seconds, and Jackson was struggling to get past him. So I decided to kind of chill behind Esteban Ocon for a little bit, because I wanted to save up some battery just, you know, for a little bit later in this Grand Prix, and just have a little bit of more of a store in the tank there, you could say, just to make sure I could use some more if I needed to. So we got that battery fully recharged to 100%. So we got the battery where we needed it to be, and now I was starting to try and put some pressure on Ocon, and as soon as that happens, he actually pits, and so does Leclerc. This is quite early for hard tires, so pitting already on hards, my guess is they're doing a 2-stop, so that'll be really interesting to see how that works out. As we actually get a VSC here on lap 13, and it's Leclerc, Charles Leclerc, just after pitting. He looks like he's crashed, and the full safety car is going to come out. Leclerc is actually going to be out of the race. Oh, he just completely loses it on his own on cold tires, and the full safety car comes out, and we're up to P6. And now everybody in front of us, and including myself, my teammate Aiden Jackson, and everyone that hasn't pitted is going to pit right now, which means Red Bull's double stacking. We are double stacking, which is going to hurt us a lot more than Red Bull, of course, because Red Bull, they had a lot more of a gap between their cars. We're going to come in for a 2.4 second stop, and then Jackson's going to be able to do his pit stop, but that safety car has allowed us to, of course, gain more time. Of course, Leclerc's out of the race, and now we're up to P6 in front of Esteban Ocon.
So then Max Verstappen leads as we get ready to go. This safety car has really mixed some things up here, Martin.
It sure has, but we lack some wild races these days, so I welcome this. The question now is, does Lando have anything for Max in these final laps?
Homeboy Gary Owen up to 6th after benefiting from the safety car. Both Connor Sport cars have been in the points all day today.
Not bad for a team in their first season. I think it helps that a lot of teams aren't as focused on development this year with the new regulations for next season.
We'll be going back racing this time, end of lap 15, coming to lap 16. Max Verstappen's been in control all season. He's been in control all day. We actually take our first warning for exceeding track limits in really unnecessary fashion, coming back to racing now just behind Yuki Tsunoda. We're back underway, and everything so far has really gone in our favor in this Canadian Grand Prix, and we find ourselves in a record high for our early F1 career in P6. Esteban Ocon P7, Gasly in 8th on soft, and tire strategy still all over the place here as we come to the tail end of lap 16, and this is going to really help me. Tsunoda's trying to fight with Piastri, 2 different tire compounds on those two, and that's going to get me back into the 1 second range of DRS because it had already driven away. So now DRS, of course, is enabled, and fortunately for me, because of that battle, we're going to be able to now maintain DRS with these guys, which is going to save us a lot. But Esteban Ocon, he was not shying away from putting some pressure on myself here. He is trying to do what he can right off the bat, but this is such an interesting race with strategy, so everyone still actually is going to have to pit again from the looks of it, including myself. Now, let's look at this. Tsunoda again on Piastri into the back straightaway chicane, coming to the front straightaway, and that really backs him up now to right to myself as we head down to turn 1. Ocon's going to close right up on us. Antonelli's in P8. And as well, you got my teammate of Aiden Jackson in the 9th position. He's trying to continue to go forward as well and get himself back up closer to myself now in this final half of this Grand Prix that's now underway. Lap 19 at this point, and now just kind of wondering, when are we going to see the next set of pit stops kind of kick off? Because that's completely up in the air with the safety cars. Kind of changed everything, and Tsunoda still stuck behind Piastri. Piastri's having to play defense, so he's backing himself up, and it's such an awkward situation. There's Tsunoda. I thought he was about to have a look into turn 1. Now he locks up there. I mean, it looks like he's starting to lose his temper a little bit now. As we have yellow flags in turn 1, actually it's Carlos Sainz who's had a mechanical failure, so day over for the Spaniard now in the Williams, as that will put 2 cars out of the race. Look at that slide from Tsunoda out of the hairpin here on lap 20. Now we've got a chance suddenly to overtake a Red Bull, but yeah, the Red Bull is quicker than us in a straight line, so it was wishful thinking. It wasn't going to happen, so we just continue to maintain DRS, and we've gotten 2 seconds in front of Ocon and Antonelli at this point, as now Piastri slides. This could be the moment right here for Tsunoda to attack the Australian. He'll go alongside here into the chicane. Are any of them going to lift? The answer is no. Piastri's going to keep it stuck up the right side, and that's going to open the door wide open for myself again to join this conversation on lap 23 at this point. We're approaching already the final 10 laps here as they go side by side through the hairpin. Tsunoda around the outside. He's clear and takes the position away from Oscar Piastri. And as we come to now lap 24, end of lap 24, you're going to see Tsunoda come into the pits as well as George Russell. So a couple of drivers pit there, and I expect to see more flood in over the next couple of laps here as we come to one more lap later. Max Verstappen pits from the lead, and now Piastri's in. Norris stays out. My teammate of Aiden Jackson, he's going to box, and so is Kimi Antonelli. So myself and Norris are the only 2 drivers that are going to remain on the racetrack as we'll be coming in at the end of this lap. And I did consider at one point in this lap maybe staying out and trying to stretch it 10 more laps, but then I saw the gap that Verstappen was back, and I said he's going to absolutely destroy me. 10 seconds, 13 to Russell, 14-2 Sonoda. They would run me down on that fresh rubber before this Grand Prix was over with how much tire fall off we're seeing. So I quickly went against staying out and said, sure enough, we will come into the pits this time. Yellow's behind. It's Max Verstappen. It's Verstappen. The win streak is finally going to come to an end. I'm sorry for being so happy about a mechanical failure, but we've needed this. Max Verstappen's engine has failed, and he is out of the Canadian Grand Prix. Oh my goodness, this goes right into the hands of Lando Norris, who's just exiting his pit stall right in front of us. We come in, we'll get another set of mediums, and now we've got 10 or 9 laps to push as hard as we possibly can here in this Canadian Grand Prix. It's going to be a drag race out of the pits right here with my teammate Aiden Jackson. Who's going to get out in front of who? We sail it off into turn 1. We're just barely in front of our Connor Sport teammate Aiden Jackson, just behind Kimi Antonelli, but the problem is now we've got cold tires. That's where, of course, Jackson's going to want to pounce immediately, and he is going to pounce immediately now. A couple corners later, I've got DRS, but he has got tires that are up to temperature, and I knew I just wasn't really going to want to fight that one into the chicane. We're just going to try and get him back here over the next couple of laps, but unfortunately for me, it wasn't happening. Jackson was doing a really good job of managing the gap, and then I was now as well starting to come under pressure from Lewis Hamilton, who started in 22nd, and he's driven up to P8, and he just set the fastest lap at this point as we came to lap 29, and Lewis Hamilton's about to have an opportunity to overtake myself right here, as I just quite can't get there to Jackson, and now Hamilton pulls out a line. Not going to fight that, obviously. The Ferrari is significantly quicker, so we let Hamilton go, and I was hoping I would be able to follow him through past Aiden Jackson, because Hamilton's absolutely flying, so should be able to just breeze past my Connor Sport teammate. However, that wasn't the case. We come to now lap 30, and he's still stuck behind my teammate of Aiden Jackson here. And as we were going down these DRS straightaways, he was not finding a way to pass my teammate of Aiden Jackson. Jackson was defending just well enough to keep Hamilton far back enough to where he couldn't make a move on him. So now I'm realizing we're in trouble. I don't think we're going to be able to pass my teammate now in these closing laps, and he is on track for a 6th place finish, and I really don't want to see that at home, as Jackson is looking to go get that 6th place result. We're looking at P8. Can we fight with Lewis Hamilton now? So now with 3 laps to go, I'm really starting to try and put some pressure on Lewis Hamilton to try and make something happen. I know that straight up in a 1v1, I'm not going to be able to beat Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari, but he can't quite unleash the maximum capabilities of that car because he's stuck behind Jackson. So there's still some hope here as we come to 2 laps to go, and I'm really trying to stick with these guys and put some pressure on the Ferrari, maybe get Hamilton to make a mistake. Lando Norris is walking away with victory here now, as he's got a good 10-second advantage over Yuki Tsunoda, George Russell, Piastri, and Antonelli, who's driven up there into the top 5 as well, as we head through this final chicane. Before we get to that back straightaway chicane, I should mention, closing on Hamilton, we've self-spun it into the barrier, and we've torn half of the wing off. No yellows, no safety car, of course, with 2 laps to go, and we've completely thrown away good points in our home race in our rookie season. That is embarrassing. And you see it's red on the front right side. It's coming to the final lap. I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to try and finish this race off without pitting. But I am so embarrassed I just did that. I mean, we ran a mistake-free race, and yeah, you can see I'm all over the place now as we come to the end of this race. So, embarrassing, no excuse. I was pushing too hard, and I should have backed it down, and I stayed in it, and unfortunately, I paid the price for it. And here I was about to come at home, score points here in the Canadian Grand Prix, my best career finish it was about to be, and I was pushing too hard to try and force a 7-time champion into a mistake. And now, I mean, we're paying the consequences here on the final lap. We're down to 15th. We're going to get even worse. I had to cut the corner as Lando Norris, sure enough, would come through to win the Canadian Grand Prix. His 2nd win of the season. He won Australia. He wins Canada. The only winner that's not Max Verstappen this season. Tsunoda and Russell will be P2 and P3 as I would drop to 18th behind Fernando Alonso. Bring it through the final chicane. Take my 2nd warning and bring it home in a horrific 18th position. I am so just embarrassed in myself. I'm sorry, guys. That was all on me. You deserve better. Should have been good points today.
Head high, mate. You ran a great race until then. Head high.
Here's the checkered flag. The fans rise to their feet. It's Lando Norris for victory.
Lando Norris picks up the win, and the only thing I picked up was disappointment here in front of my home crowd. Definitely a learning moment, I would say, just for this F125 game and what we got to do differently going forward. And yeah, I pushed a little bit over the limit and we got bit. So definitely going to just, be smarter, because that's not a mistake you want to make in front of your home crowd. So embarrassing. I think I've said that word about 10 times in the last couple of minutes. Aiden Jackson ends up P6. I mean, huge day for Connor Sport if we both got in the points. Still a big day nonetheless. Haas and their 200th Grand Prix gets Ocon in the points. One Canadian does score a point. That's Lance Stroll. 3 DNFs with Verstappen, Sainz, and Leclerc, as we were the second to last driver running, as Verstappen's lead is cut a full race down to 72 points. As you can see, Jackson now up to 14th in the standings, picking up 10 points as we are at 2 points down in 17th. So frustrating. Some work to do going into the next one. Is the Austrian Grand Prix. That's going to be a fun race, and I'm hoping we can bounce back from this horrible ending of the Canadian Grand Prix. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.